Hello and welcome to Odds and Ends number 11. In this episode we'll cover biofuel production history. We'll cover the history of bioethanol followed by biodiesel. Biogas has been covered in a BitChute exclusive, link in the description. And algae-based fuels will be covered in another BitChute exclusive video. Let's start with the history of bioethanol, also known as ethanol. All alcohols are chemicals of an OH group, such as methanol, propanol, butanol, and ethanol. The first use of ethanol is speculated to be by the Chinese in 9000 BC, as pieces of pottery have residues of ethanol on it. For the majority of human history, ethanol was used by another name, alcoholic beverages, or booze, and was used for its usual purpose. Ethanol's use as a fuel in the United States was realized, however, in 1896 when Henry Ford built the first automobile to run on 100% ethanol. In 1906, a $2 per gallon tax on ethanol created during the Civil War in the US was removed, allowing for larger scale use of this automobile. This use of ethanol as a fuel source ended with Prohibition in 1919. 14 years later, interest in ethanol as a liquid fuel additive became important again, with the creation of gasoline, creating a successful hybrid gasoline. It was however cut short due to World War II, when the excess grain was needed to support war victims overseas. This idea was once again revitalized in 1973, because lead, although a great fuel additive to improve fuel efficiency, was, well, lead. Lead was replaced with methyl tertiary butyl ether, or MTBE. MTBE was later found to be toxic as well, so they replaced MTBE with ethanol. In the late 1970s and 1980s, due to gasoline shortages, these hybrid fuels were exempted from federal fuels taxes. This ended when petroleum prices once again dropped. Interest increased again in 1990 with the passage of the Clean Air Act as a means of reducing carbon monoxide emissions. In 2007, the US federal government required a new law that required an increased use of renewable fuels, which includes a stipulation that bioethanol need to be blended with 100% of the gasoline used by 2022. Due to the fact that most cars are geared towards fossil fuel use, not ethanol use, most combustion engines in the car can only have fuel that's supplemented with 10 to 15% ethanol, without altering construction or operation of the engine. As of right now, most of the ethanol is produced primarily from corn in the United States. In most of the world, however, bioethanol comes from two sources, corn or sugarcane. Prior to corn becoming the mainstay, sugarcane was a primary source of ethanol for biofuels, with most of that sugarcane production coming from Brazil. Even today, Brazil has developed a system where 40% of the fuel they use is of sugarcane-derived ethanol origin. But as corn improved, it was found that you could produce more ethanol from corn than from sugarcane, and so the US took over the biofuel market for bioethanol. Now onto biodiesel. Biodiesel starts off, ironically, with the first diesel engine, created by Rudolf Diesel in 1896. The original diesel engine had an efficiency of nearly 75%, which was much higher than previous steam engines in use at that time period. And it ran off an ingredient near and dear to many different types of chefs and cooks, peanut oil. Despite the use of peanut oil as a biofuel, was eventually overshadowed by regular diesel made from petrol. This was due to the declining prices of petroleum-based fuels in the early 1900s. But of course, research never stopped into biofuels, or biodiesel, completely. People became interested in biodiesel again in 1973 with the oil crisis, caused by embargo placed on the US by OPEC. Unfortunately, the early generations of biodiesel were too thick or viscous to be used as conventional fuels for diesel engines. However, in the early 80s, researchers in South Africa unlocked the clue to lowering viscosity in native biodiesels. These researchers developed a chemical transformation technique that broke down the triglycerides found in sunflower oil into simple hydrocarbons called methyl esters. Methyl esters had lower levels of thickness or viscosity than regular biodiesel, and as such works well in diesel engines. From this process, a chemical technique called trans-esterification was created, which allowed any plant oils or animal fats to be broken down into methyl esters. Trans-esterification is a reaction of fats and oils with alcohol and a catalyst to create fatty acid methyl esters. When triglycerides react with alcohol in the presence of a catalyst, fatty acids detach from the glycerol and combine with the alcohol molecules, creating fatty acid methyl esters, leaving only behind biodiesel and glycerol as a byproduct. Like bioethanol, it's mostly produced from corn in the United States, and as such remains controversial because both bioethanol and biodiesel potentially could raise the prices if they're used in such mass scales, or if a drought or natural disaster hits that reduces the total amount of grain available. Well, that about covers everything. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this video. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to me on BitChute for a greater variety of content, 4 videos a week. And thank you to all my subscribers on both platforms. I appreciate it.